we had poll tax, we have various forms of taxes, including jangali. And these were the funds that were used to build up the local governments. But let us also appreciate that taxation is not just about revenue. It has its own security context, and which is very, very important. We will appreciate that when the traditional rulers were relevant, a lot of this taxation was being put together by the ward heads who report to the village head and then the district head and so on. And it behoves on them to know whoever is staying within that locality and what they are engaged in. Anytime a visitor comes into the community, they will be the first people to report it to the traditional ruler. And the visitor will be invited and will be interviewed, where he comes from, what is his mission there, and so on and so forth. These are all security steps that made for security in our communities. And I hope government will look into effective administration of tax, because it has its own security context. In our society, I make bold to say we cannot take away religion from our insecurity, because we are in the days when you find religious leaders whom the masses trust. They are very reckless in their statements, absolutely reckless. And they have politicized religion. They have. If our governors want to be sincere with us, they will tell you that they come to intimidate them even. Religious leaders, we must find a way of curbing what I may want to say religious, I'm sorry to use the word rascality. I don't see us planning without regional and urban laws in place. Because yes, every Nigerian is free to stay wherever they want to. But they must follow due processes. And if the due processes are not there, then it means for a chaotic community. The Land Use Act itself has not extinguished customary rights ownership of land. And there is no land in our communities that does not belong to somebody. But today, a lot of the people have been displaced from their communities. In Plateau State, we know of the Gashis community, some places in Miyango, Rukuba, Mangu, and so on. Sometimes one wants to think that some of these security challenges are a bit to take over land. And those who have customary rights, which has not been extinguished by the Land Use Act, will need to be protected accordingly. And we had thought that with what the government did right on the onset, peace had returned. But what happened in Gashis and the most recent one in Mangu has reawakening us to ensure that we look at situations a lot deeper than we thought there are. The police that are charged with internal security in Plateau State, yes, they've been holding meetings with the communities to resolve whatever disputes there are. We will need to continue to encourage that, but that will also be a factor of community policing. And we know very well that the knowledge of the languages, the knowledge of the terrain, the knowledge of the culture and tradition of the people is very necessary for effective community policing. And so I don't know how the IG is going to do it. You may have to either redeploy officers to their own localities, or in the alternative, in your training of the policemen, you will have to include the history of every community in Nigeria so that the police understand who they are dealing with. The average policeman from the south, you send him to Sokoto, he doesn't even know what Pada is all about. And he sees no reason why he should not chase a criminal into any house. But when he is stopped, and you say this house is under Pada, he will ask you, what do you mean? He will turn and ask his colleagues, now wait in the talk. You see, these are things that the lack of knowledge of the culture and the tradition of the people are impediments to effective community policing. In Plateau State, we have the Operation Rainbow and other vigilante groups that have been set up by government. We will also want to appreciate if Operation Rainbow itself will be developed and the respective vigilante groups to provide proper monitoring of the local communities accordingly. But we must go back to the roots of all these problems. And the roots of all these problems are dysfunctional families. If we are to address security, we must look at ways to make parents more responsible, because the miscreants and the crooks that are harassing our community are children from families. And like one of my colleagues has said, Al-Majri, but it's not only Al-Majris. Every university today is rife with cultists, with drug addicts, and all this. They all come from family. We should ask ourselves, have we reneged on our responsibilities as parents? If that is key to it, let us look for ways of reawakening parents to their own responsibilities, and we will definitely have a safer community. Thank you and God bless.
We would like to thank His Royal Highness the Igbom Jos. Please, I would like to have your attention. Eminent, distinguished personalities, their excellencies, the governors of the North Central, will be leaving here by 4 o'clock, which is in about 20 minutes. I would urge that we kindly, please kindly restrain the movements. Let us quietly just sit down for the next 20 minutes. Because of weather, they have to leave here by at least 4 o'clock in the next about 18 minutes. We have one last royal father who should kindly adhere to just 2 minutes before we begin to call the governors. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Representative of the FCT, pass to JG.
This water, drink it. Can I drink this water?
Yes. I go to it every day.
I'll give you a copy. Your Excellency, and all other protocols observed. I write on behalf of the original inhabitants of Federal Capital Territory to highlight the ordeals of the people through these hard times of insecurity, bedeviling our nation and mutual coexistence, curbing security breaches, threats of the Federal Capital Territory as a must, because it is the center of unity. Therefore, if insecurity is allowed to foster unchecked, it will continue spilling doom for the entire nation. Briefly, I would like to point out two major factors responsible for insecurity in Federal Capital Territory. One, the invasion of bandits, kidnappers, insurgents, marauders into the Federal Capital Territory. It is no longer in doubt that just as many states of the Federation, the bandits, kidnappers, insurgents, marauders, armed robbers have invaded the Federal Capital Territory and are causing serious mayhem in the territory. We have recorded many cases of killings, kidnapping, robbery, farmers, herders, clashes for many times now and is on the rise on daily basis. Places like Paikonkore, Rubochi, Kwaku, Yebu, Pegi, Kwaita, Sani, Sukukum, and the city center, just to mention a few, have become constant place of attack of the insurgents. We therefore call on the security agents to gear up efforts towards curbing the menace. Number 2, government policies and actions are security threats to the existence of the original inhabitants of FCT. The Federal Capital Territory is a home of over 1.4 million people in more than 858 villages and communities in 8,000 square kilometers of land, according to 2006 census. The indigenous population of FCT has suffered untold hardship since the inception of the Federal Capital Territory in 1976 in the following manners, to mention but few: denial of right of ownership of lands. The farmland of the native of FCT are being allocated to rich farmers and developers without adequate consideration of the attendant effort of teeming indigenous population. The people are largely farmers but are denied access to their farm lands. We wonder how the government expects them to survive in this hard economy. Who cater for them, their children, and their dependents? Who will sponsor their wards? When the youth are not educated, how will they cope in the emerging world of technocrats? This is indeed a threat to our existence and genocidal war, to say the least. As we speak, 4 communities are under serious threat by the military to quit. If they are displaced, where will they go? This is also security threat. Number 2, the declaration of 485,000 hectares of land for grazing reserve in the FCT. As at the Tuesday, October 25, 2016, they published in Daily Sun newspaper, page 13, the Minister of FCT, Bala Mohammed, made it clear to the public that 33,848 hectares of land have been earmarked for grazing reserve for about 7 million cows in the territory, to be 8,500 hectares of land in Paikonkore, 6,000 hectares of land in Karichi, 9,000 hectares in Buari, 9,800 hectares in Rubochi. The minister revealed. What does the government want to achieve with this sudden decision? This decision was taken without consultation of the original inhabitants, who are still struggling to retain their farmlands against the rich buyers. Considering the nature of struggling, okay, this is what you're writing. We want peace. We want security. Please give me time, because this is the heart of the nation, and you all know what we're talking about. Please be patient with me, because I am a pastor. If I don't tell this generation the truth, we are going to be in doom, and may God prevent it in Jesus' name. Please listen to me. For God's sake, how do we manage this situation? Please, the security agents and well-meaning Nigerians, intervene in these matters and save us from crisis. Already, some of these areas are facing grave security challenges. We urge the government to rethink. Second to the last, denial of the right of statehood. Nigeria is a federation consisting of states of the Federal Capital Territory. All right, you off the light. They have off the light. All right, I will continue. Here is the paper. I will give you the paper.
Just share the paper.
I want to give the Ogaro.
You're back.
Hello? We'd like to thank you very much. The pastor has handed over his complaints to the IG of police. Thank you so very much. At this point, we have about 16 more minutes. I can assure him that I'd like to now call on the executive governor. No, okay. What? Okay. Would like to call on the immediate past governor of Nasarawa State, His Excellency, Most Distinguished Senator Umaru Tanko Almakura, to briefly speak before we continue. Most Distinguished Senator.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Nasarawa State, Engineer A.A. Slay, Your Excellencies, my former colleagues, the governors of Niger, Plateau, Benue, Kogi, and His Excellency, our amiable Governor of Kwara State, the Inspector General of Police and other police senior officers here present, the GOC of 3rd Division, traditional rulers and government officials here present. Let me thank Your Excellency for giving me the opportunity to briefly make a comment on this all-important summit on community policing. I would like to commend the Inspector General of Police for bringing this initiative to fruition, and also thank our amiable governors for strategically partnering with the IGP in ensuring the implementation of community policing in our zone. I'm going to be very, very brief, 2 minutes. I would like to say about 3 items that I would like Your Excellencies and the IG to take note of while implementing the community policing. And some of these are by virtue of some of the experiences we have had during the period we operate as governors in this state. The first is the issue of making community policing be community-based. And by being community-based, I feel it should be holistic and all-embracing. We can start them from the district level, the village level, the local government level, up to the state. Why I'm saying this is because we have experienced the benefit of community-based conflict resolution mechanism during our period when we had a lot of crisis. You will find that these committees at various levels take the hit of the security operatives when the matters were not too serious. By the time it gets too serious, the operatives will be informed about it. Secondly, I would like also to intimate Your Excellencies about some of the quasi-security outfits you have in your various states. Our governor has mentioned NIAS, which is a youth empowerment scheme where the arrestiveness was captured and transformed into value addition in our society. As it is today, our NIAS are into security surveillance, sanitary inspection, traffic administration, and environment security. I believe we shall be killing two birds with one stone if we deploy some of this youth to participate actively in community policing. Finally, I would like to also appeal to the IG that in implementing the community policing policy, one thing in my own layman's understanding, is that if you are able to ensure that rank and files and also officers up to the rank of ASP are left in their various states to operate, by the time they reach the position of SP, then they could migrate to other states. I believe this will give them the opportunity to have rudimentary understanding of policing in the environment they know very well, so that by the time they reach higher position and go to a state other than their own, they could borrow lift from the experiences they have had in their various states of origin. On this note, I want to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, and I hope and pray that this initiative, which has been spearheaded by the IGP and supported by our able governors, will be a thing that will change our security architecture and situation in all our 6 states. I thank you very much.
We'd like to thank the immediate past governor of Nasarawa State, most distinguished Senator Umaru Tanko Almakura. At this point, I'd like to invite the executive governor of Plateau State, Right Honorable Simon Bakula Long, to make his comments. Coming from the home of peace and tourism, the executive governor of Plateau State.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, our host, Chief Host, Governor of Nasarawa State, Your Excellencies, the various governors of the North Central Zone, the Inspector General of Police. Let me also security organizations, you will go back to square one. But we did that, and with the help of that cooperation, we went further. But I will only highlight some of the aspects that we did in the state that is helping us, which when we continue with the community policing will also help us. In Plateau State, we had the Operation Rainbow established by law, by federal government. In this Operation Rainbow, it is like an outfit set up for intelligence gathering. And today, in our outfit in Operation Rainbow, they have established what we call early warning signal. By early warning signal, like the governor, I stay here. If anything is happening in any village, it will show me that there's something in that village. And to augment what the police are doing, that was why we set up the peace and conflict management. If I see a sign that there's a conflict, we are using the communities, because all those that are working and giving intelligence are members of those communities. Some of them in the villages. They have telephones, and we have a situation room. And within that situation room, if it is in a village, if there's a problem, they will see it. They will tell them there's a problem. And that problem will be addressed by the Peace and Conflict Agency. And within the Peace and Conflict Agency, then they give intelligence to the police. The police will now run into it and address the situation. Sometimes things like cattle rustling, those ones you won't understand until they happen in the night. But in most cases, that was why we were able to settle and we had peace. So I also employ most of the states to ensure that you have these early warning signals. By early warning signals, most of the things that are done in the villages, the community will get to you, especially the governor. All things, whether done in the night, they tell me, I get a signal, I get a red alert, and we go into that issue. In Plateau State, what we are beginning to witness now is again cattle rustling and kidnapping. I thank God that many of the Mieti Allah are here. It is no doubt that when you talk about some of these things, kidnapping now and cattle rustling, the majority of those that we catch are members of the Mieti Allah. Yes, they are your people. Because if you are also leaders, please learn to educate your leader, your followership very well. Because we don't want situations, because this thing is happening in the north. And when we are talking about the north, we are talking of percentage. I'm not saying there are criminals, no criminals in other tribes, but then majority of this are coming within that wing. So if we want to address, especially in the north, so that we embrace this community policing, please let us learn to address our people, address our institutions very well. And also, secondly, the establishment of the peace building. We've established peace building in Plateau State. And by rating, today it is rated very high. Both by the British, by the American government, and many international organizations that are working. 7 states have come to Plateau to understudy the operation of the peace building. The peace building will help in bringing out, settling the conflict, while the early warning signal is also giving us signals. And the Commissioner of Police is always notified as to what is happening. Of course, in the Operation Rainbow, it's a mixture of all the security organizations. Armed. But that is not to say they use arms. They don't use arms. They use the arms to secure themselves when gathering information, gathering intelligence. Then finally, Mr. Haji, sir, I think we should also move ahead. When I say move ahead, let us not concentrate on traditional or the old technology, because the criminals are getting too high. They are using technology. They are using technology. I watched when one of this Abakari was exhibiting when somebody developed a technology that can even make sure that a car is moving. There's no way you can track that car. So technology is very, very important. In Plateau State, we've done it too. We've employed and we're using drones, especially for cattle rustlers. You rustle cow and you are moving, the drone will follow you. The drone will follow you. As part of surveillance, recently we commissioned through our Operation Rainbow, through the highest point of Jos, to ensure there is surveillance around the Jos city. And I'm sure that was an idea given to me by the IG. We did that. So we've told criminals, no matter where you are hiding, if it is the Jos and environs, from that tower, we will know what you are doing in that place. So because of that, criminals are beginning to run. To run away. So this technology, I'm not saying that these are the only exclusive technologies, but as we move on, the criminal is also advanced. If you take this one, he will go 2 steps. So as we move on, let us also ensure that we have these technologies and they are available. I think federal government should also start coming to our rescue when we get into this one. Now, the other aspect finally is that generally in the north, we take the issue of our Almajiri system seriously. We've set up a committee and we're waiting for the committee to make a report. We will start handling the Almajiri issue. And finally, the issue of employment and drug addiction and engagement, employment and engagement is very, very prominent in the north. And so definitely, if we are talking about security, let us also begin to talk about stomach infrastructure. How we can engage, how we can take out these youths away from the street, take out the youths away from the street, and to our religious leaders. When we come to implementing some of the issues we are going to start addressing on the issue of Al-Majri, please don't make it religious. I've heard severally from clerics that the issue of Al-Majri is not religious. So if it is not religious, leave the government to handle it in a way that we will have security in the state. So once and may God bless us.
To come. Please.
Let me recognize our chief host, the governor of Nasarawa State, my colleagues and brothers, the governors of North Central Zone, the Inspector General of Police. In order not to chop into my time, all protocols observed. Let me commend the Inspector General of Police for initiating this summit and to congratulate him for the good work he is doing since assumption of office. He has given the Nigerian police a first lift and a new face. And I'm here to commend you and to say that we have confidence in you. It wasn't like this before. Currently, I'm in court with the former Inspector General of Police, not because I hate him, but because I want to prove a point that impunity should not be allowed to continue to thrive in this country. And we are all Nigerians. This country belongs to us. Today I'm governor, tomorrow I will not be there. Today you're Inspector General of Police, tomorrow you will not be there. That is the point I'm trying to portray. And I will pursue it to its logical conclusion. So, Mr. Inspector General of Police, if your office is invited, it is not because of you. It is because of what your predecessor did that I want to correct. And let it be known. But I commend this initiative, and I throw my weight behind the initiative, that it is the best way to go. Otherwise, very soon, North Central Zone will begin to agitate for other alternatives, like others are doing, even if they are legal or not. Because security is very, very important. Every one of us needs security. And this is a very big challenge. And without security, there cannot be any form of economic development. Today, I'm aware that several investors that wanted to come to my state, they decided to decline because of the security situation in my state. And that is why we're having several challenges around because of the level of unemployment. Even the few industries that existed are falling off because the environment is very poor, especially the issue of security. And I want to appreciate you for adopting respect for the rule of law. The rule of law is very critical, especially in a democratic environment like we have. If you don't respect the rule of law, then we're a doomed nation. And in protecting the rule of law, nobody should be a sacred cow. Nobody should indicate that he can be lawless. Because if we allow lawlessness, then we are calling for anarchy. And when anarchy comes, nobody knows the limit to which it will go. No one will be safe. All of us are being protected. Our offices, whether as police or the army or the governors, we are protected because the law provides that we should be given protection. And so the law should not be something to toy with. Everyone must learn to respect the laws of our land. In Benue State, we had issues of killings, kidnappings, armed robbery, arising from courtesan, from kidnappers, from herdsmen, and so on. But the most notorious one has been the issue of herdsmen. And I'm happy that Miyetti Allah are here. I want Miyetti Allah to know that they are not above the law. Where Miyetti Allah have assumed the position of being above the law and doing anything that they want. I'm happy that the presenter, the guest speaker, talked about the migration of herdsmen coming from other countries of the world. Not necessarily Fulani people, but herdsmen coming from other parts of the world into Nigeria. I have never seen, in my little knowledge of travel around the globe, I have never witnessed a place or a country where you open your borders and you allow people from Mali, from Senegal, from Chad, from Niger, from Cameroon to just come in and cause trouble for your citizens. I think this is not right. And it has to be corrected. You allow these people to come with arms and they are going about with them freely. Meanwhile, you are not allowing farmers to have cutlasses, that they are weapons. This is not right. It is unfair and it is unlawful to allow people to have sophisticated weapons and be going about with it. This was what led to us to enact a law. We are not against any ethnic group. Today, our law have succeeded in jailing, prosecuting, and convicting a lot of people. Not just Fulanis, not just Igbos, not just Tiv people. Idoma people are there. Some are in prison. Some were convicted, they paid those fines. So our law is not targeted at anyone, but it is meant to bring peace for herdsmen and farmers. Since we started the implementation of that law, we have not had any case of cattle rustling. Because once we see you going along with cattle, we know that something is wrong. So you are apprehended. So it is not targeted at anyone. The Fulanis, the Igbos, the Hausa, the Yoruba, anyone who wants is allowed to come to Benue State and do his livestock business. We are ready to give land, but to do it according to the law that we have put in place. Those of you who argue that in the 50s grazing routes were carved and cattle routes were designated, you should ask yourself also, what was the total population of Nigeria in the 50s? It was just less than 40 million people. Today we are how many? Over 200 million people. So where do you want us to build schools? Where do you want us to provide farmlands? Where do you want us to provide basic things that the people will use for their livelihood? That is the challenge. So if you look at it globally, ranching remains the only option. This is something that all of us should be thinking about it. I know that an average Fulani man have lived his life as a nomad. But here too, government can come in at the local government, at the state and federal level to provide some kind of remedy and subsidy, just like we provide subsidy for farmers. So government can also do something to support the herdsmen. Otherwise, open grazing in Nigeria as it is today, especially in Benue State, is no longer visible. Because even the federal government, and even my own government, were encouraging that we must promote agriculture. And where do you want us to farm? As I talk to you, when there was this rumor that Operation White Stroke were going to leave Benue State and Nasarawa State, we saw influx of Fulani men coming in with sophisticated weapons. Even in my own farm that is situated in Makurdi town, the Fulani men came there and they shot at the livestock guard with sophisticated weapons. This is not right. Why should Fulani men be going about with sophisticated weapons? Are they above the law? So it is not right. And I think this is one area that our security agencies will help us to ensure that we stop this impunity that is going on. Otherwise, no one will be safe. And in some of these people, at their idling places, they become kidnappers. So we must find a way of checking this by obeying our laws. We are not comparing any other state to implement ranching. But for us in Benue State, we have a law properly made for the people of Benue State. So it is important to know this, because these are things that are creating crisis. Like my chief did say, today we are still having IDPs in Benue State. I don't know what to do. Each time I go there, they are crying, they want to go home. But these herdsmen are still attacking them. Each time they attempt to go back. So it is a big challenge. And so the community policing will help, but we will need the support of the security agencies to help us get our people back to their villages by calling Mayati Allah and their members to order, by stop terrorizing our people with sophisticated weapons. Nigeria is not the only country with herds of cattle. We have several other countries that have more cattle than what we have in Nigeria. From the record from United States Department of Agriculture, the whole cattle we're talking about here is about 20 million heads of cattle. If you go to Brazil, we have over 268 million heads of cattle, and with a land mass of over 8 million square kilometers of land. But yet, every cattle in Brazil is ranched. In India, the same thing, over 300 million cattle. In America and in several other countries, you have more than what we have there in Nigeria. But there is law and order when it comes to this. So we must find a way to do this. But even if other states are not doing it, I have no issue with that. For us in Benue State, we have a law, and let the law be respected. Lastly, I want to appreciate our security agencies that despite the challenges that they have, they've been able to cope and to do things in a manner that will support security. I believe that the coming on board of the community policing, it will go a long way to help. Let me add my voice to the guest speaker and the moderator, and to say that issues of monitoring and evaluation must be considered topmost in the implementation of this program that we're about to start. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Dr. Samuel Ortom, the Executive Governor of Benue State. His state is the 9th most populous state in Nigeria, and Dr. Ortom does believe in Nigeria. Would like to now call on the Executive Governor of Niger State, Alhaji Abubakar Sani Bello, to take the stage and make his comments. The largest state in Nigeria, actually.
Your Excellency, our host governor and governor of Nasarawa State, the governors of North Central State, members of National Assembly, Inspector General of Police, and Your Royal Highnesses, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by commending the Inspector General of Police for this summit. I think it will go a long way towards addressing some of the security challenges we have in this country. At the same time, I would like to commend my friend and brother, the governor of Nasarawa State, for hosting this event. I believe a lot has been said, and have listened with keen attention to speakers that spoke before me, and most of the issues have been addressed. I will make a little reference with the last speaker, my brother, the governor of Benue. First, I think we need to be calm. We need to operate an all-inclusive system so as to accommodate everyone. I feel different from his assessment. I strongly believe there's a difference between a herdsman and a bandit. I'm also a herdsman. But I think the main issues we're discussing today, our main concern, are those of those bandits that have, over time, stopped people from going into their farms. And that is why in Niger State, we found it necessary to reactivate the Bobi Grazing Reserve and 5 or 6 other reserves we have, which in the end will probably have over 200,000 hectares of land as grazing reserve. At the moment, we're investing resources to ensure that we provide pasture, water, and what have you that is required for cattle rearing. I believe anything that peace cannot give you, conflict will never give you. So the time has come that we have as a policy an inclusive policy to accommodate everyone as long as you are a Nigerian. Earlier on, we listened to some of the bandits and their complaints, and I came to the general conclusion that in some cases, economic reasons is one of the reasons why they got involved in the first place. We have witnessed such dialogues in states like Zamfara, in states like Kebbi, Niger, and Katsina. In some cases, some of them repented. In other cases, they went back to carrying arms. I would like to appeal to all concerned in this regard to take this initiative as a one-time offer and last offer from the government for those that really and truly want to lay down their arms. We also have to work with all stakeholders in providing security. A lot has been said about community policing, which we all agree will go a long way. But with stakeholders, I'm referring to security agents, our traditional rulers, political heads, and farmers. I think security of our nation, our state, is a duty of all. Most importantly, there must be sincerity of purpose. From experience, I have noticed sometimes we say one thing, most times we do other things. If we agree that the time has come to address these security issues, then we must be sincere about it. We must confront it, we must face it, and we must bring it to a final and complete end. So for me, I would like to congratulate the IG for this initiation. I would like to thank the governor of the North Central State, and we have agreed before this, I'm chairing the Forum of the North Central State Governors, and security will be one major important agenda that will come up virtually in all our meetings. We will try as much as possible to ensure regular meetings, and at the same time, like the governor of Plateau said, we must address the issue of this Almajiri. Almajiri, in a nutshell, is search for knowledge, but not begging. We must bring to a final stop the state governments of the 19 states of the Federation to come up with a policy to address the issue of orphans and kids found on the street. We must train them, take them like ours, otherwise they will become our problem in future. And to this end, I would like to thank each and every one of you that found time to attend this summit. It is my prayer that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide you and protect you as you embark on your journey back home. Thank you very much.
We've heard from His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Niger State, Alhaji Abubakar Sani Bello. I'd now like to invite the Executive Governor of Kogi State, Alhaji Yahaya Adoza Bello.
Is advocating for today, which is purely community policing. Our traditional rulers and the citizens of Kogi State cooperated with us, and we practiced it to the best of our ability. We had an incident of Fulanis being attacked or Fulanis attacking our farmers. We went in swiftly. We mediated and we brought the matters to rest. Ever since then, majority of the real headers in Kogi State and our real farmers have been cooperating and cohabiting successfully. However, just of recent, we had an attack in a community called Tawari in Kotu, Kogi local government, by some bandits who crossed over from this Nasarawa state across to Kogi State to attack. When I listened to some of them, or some of those who claim to be the leaders of those bandits, and they claim or they attack it or premise it on economic reasons, I would say it's a lie. Because no any form of hardship will make you to take to crime or criminality. I am not a proponent of having a dialogue with criminal. A criminal should be treated as a criminal. When Fulanis were being attacked and sent away from other states, I am the only governor first that call on them to come to Kogi State and live a lawful life. And we did provided enabling environment for the headers, including vaccinating well over 1 million cattle of the Fulanis in Kogi State, free of charge. So the real Fulanis living in Kogi State are peace-loving, and they are cohabiting well with us. Anyone seen attacking our farmers are criminals, and we shall treat them as such. Inspector General Police, sir, what I want to simply ask of you is that please continue to cooperate with all the governors, both of North Central, the whole of the North, and Nigeria. We are going to give you a wonderful support. President Muhammadu Buhari has chosen you in his own wisdom. So far, so good. You have been the best IG we have ever had. But please, A criminal will not carry AK-47, and our policemen will carry AK-47 and engage each other. There are more sophisticated weapons. Let's equip our police and security agencies with more sophisticated weapons, and let's confront the idiots on the street. And let's take them out. When we make our region, when we make our country hot for them, they will look for something lawful to do and earn a living. If we encourage negotiation, with criminals, we will price. Because we have a lot of unemployment in Nigeria today. Once we do that, then other unemployed youths will take criminality, and then will come for negotiation. How many criminals will you negotiate with? I came from a very humble background, and God made me who I am today with the help and efforts of my parents and the elder ones. So nobody should claim that because he is jobless, he is going into criminality. You go into criminality, you pay price of being a criminal. Please and please, I am appealing with the Ardos, the Fulanis. The Fulanis used to be known as a peace-loving citizens of this country. Please and please don't give Mr. President and yourselves bad name. God made it today that we have the best president ever in Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari. And fortunately, he's a Fulani man. You go about your normal lawful business. But unfortunately, whenever bandits are arrested, they are said to be of the Fulani extraction. That is not good enough for your image. The leaders of the Fulanis across the state and across the communities must be sincere. You must be upright and stop encouraging the criminals amongst you. You must take up the responsibility of leadership and ensure that you expunge the bad ones. It is rubbing heavily on your image. And if you don't take action, the law enforcement agencies are not weak. They are very strong. The Nigeria police is the strongest police as far as Nigeria and Africa is concerned. They will take you out. And that will have rubbed on your image. So please, don't encourage them to come and negotiate. Tell them to drop their arms and return back to the means, lawful means of livelihood. As far as we're concerned in Kogi State, whoever attacks us will not go scot-free. We will hunt you, irrespective of where you go to. It may take a little time. We have intelligence. We have our network as well. We will get you wherever you are. And I know that the Inspector General of Police and all law enforcement agencies are with us very solidly. There are pockets of criminals amongst us, the real indigenes or the citizens or the inhabitants. We have largely depleted them. And those who has no any means of criminality again has returned back to legal and lawful means of livelihood. Why do you think you are going to be an exception? We're not going to tolerate that. The various methods we employ in Kogi State to restore peace and security, we shall share the same intelligence and knowledge with my other colleagues in the North Central and the whole of the North. And inshallah, North Central shall be a safe haven for all law-abiding citizens. Thank you and God bless you.
We'd like to thank the Executive Governor of Kogi State, very forthright. Kogi State, located at the point where River Niger meets River Benue. Your Excellencies, at this point it is my singular honor and privilege to call on the Executive Governor of Kwara State, Alhaji Abdurrahman Abdurazak, to make his presentation. He comes from the state of harmony.
Our Chief Host, Governor of Nasarawa State, governors from North Central State, top government functionaries, the Inspector General of Police, traditional rulers, ladies and gentlemen. We've been very lucky in Kwara State, a state of harmony, that we've not been having these issues of insecurity. First of all, let me thank the Nigerian Police Force for organizing this summit and Nasarawa State government for hosting it. Now I move on to thanking the Nigerian Police Force, especially our State Police Commissioner, Mr. Kayode Egwetobi, who has been doing a wonderful job in the state. They've been leaving no stone unturned in cracking down on issues of criminality. I also like to thank the State Director of DSS. Their work is invaluable. We don't see DSS in the field these days, in the media, but what they do in Kwara State is enormous. The daily briefs we get is also preemptive. They help us in reducing and solving crimes even before they happen. I also like to thank the Nigerian Army. When we had the huge incident in Northwest Zamfara, the Army responded quickly by setting up a forward operating base in the north of Kwara at the borders, sharing the border with Niger State. And what we noticed was that the criminal elements migrated from Zamfara to Niger State and from there to Nasarawa and Kogi State. They didn't come down our way, we thank God. And we thank the Army, the security forces for building a buffer zone in Kwara State. And with the work they've done, it's helped us integrate our economies, and we're doing very well. The civil defense have played their part, and importantly, the traditional institution. I call them the fourth tier of government because they're there for us every day. They solve our problems, community problems, engage with us, and they will be very much important and a key to this community policing issues. Now, issues of security and economic development is like the chicken before the egg. If we don't have security, we cannot create wealth and develop our economy. And investors won't come in. So in our own case, what we're doing in the state is trying to create wealth. We're introducing the social investment program. We're also embracing the National Livestock Transformation Program of the federal government. So we're key into this. And also this morning we had a meeting in the government house in Nasarawa State and elected the governor of Niger State to lead North Central. Now, apart from security issues, we're also going to tackle the issue of economic integration of North Central. When you start from Vandakaya to Kosubusu in the border of Republic of Benin in Niger State, there's no linkage in North Central. So we intend to invigorate the economy of North Central State. While we increase the GDP, you see that the issues of insecurity will diminish gradually. So it's about creating enterprise and wealth. So that's what it's all about. So I'm glad I'm here, and we're keen to the eventual communique of this summit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kwara State. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I would like to invite the Secretary to the Government of Nassau State, Honorable Ahmad Tijani Aliyu, to give the vote of thanks.
Okay. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Nasarawa State, Engineer Abdullahi A. Sule, Your Excellencies, Executive Governors from the North Central States here present, His Excellency, the Deputy Governor, the Right Honorable Speaker, ably represented, the Honorable Chief Judge, Nasarawa State, distinguished senators and members of the National Assembly, the Inspector General of Police, IGP Mohammed Abubakar Adamu, Nigerian Police Force, members of the State Executive and Security Councils, my colleagues, the secretaries to the government of states in the North Central, the head of civil service, permanent secretaries in the service of Nasarawa State, and other permanent secretaries from other states, His Royal Highnesses, Honorable Justice Sidi Baye Mohammed, and other royal fathers here present, representatives of security and paramilitary agencies, and other participants, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor and rare privilege to, on behalf of my principal, His Excellency, the Governor of Nasarawa State, Engineer Abdullahi A. Sule, to move a vote of thanks at this auspicious summit organized by the Nigerian Police.
And go on the program. Indeed, peace is important for the development of every society and, of course, a collective responsibility. Thank you for staying with us so far.
Inspector General of Police, IGP Mohammed Abubakar Adamu, and the Nigerian Police Force for conceiving this security summit at this critical period when our collective efforts are being as required to address the mysteries of security challenges bedeviling our dear country. I wish to also appreciate the choice of Nasarawa to host this very important event. Similarly, it is my imperative to appreciate His Excellency, the Governor of Nasarawa State, for this inaugural support which facilitated the successful staging of this honorary summit. Let me also commend His Excellency for ensuring peaceful coexistence for socio-economic development of Nasarawa State. In the same vein, I convey in the depth gratitude to Your Excellencies, the governors of the other states in the North Central, for finding time out of our tight schedule to attend this critical situation. Your Excellency's presentation and indeed participation have been an impetus to your collective commitment to secure our zone for prosperity and development. Your Excellencies, let me also and especially to commend our royal fathers for their strategic roles in enhancing community policing in the region. I say thank you and God bless. Thank you very much.
From all of us, from the outside broadcast, I'm Rhoda Ibrahim Balogun saying thank you for watching, and we wish to have a better, peaceful Nigeria.
everyone, welcome. These are the highlights for Nationwide. We apologize we didn't start at the right time due to a live broadcast on North Central Police Regional Security Summit. But here's the highlight for Nationwide. I am Ruth Aguela. President Muhammadu Buhari has strongly condemned the terrorist killing of Lawan Andimi, chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, in Michika local government area of Adamawa State, describing it as cruel, inhuman and deliberately provocative. In a statement by the Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, President Buhari expressed sorrow that the terrorists went on to kill the religious leader while giving signals at the same time of a willingness to set him free by releasing him to third parties. President Buhari consoles the Christian community all over Nigeria, the government and people of Adamawa State and the bishop's family over the sad loss of the man of God, and assures that terrorists will continue to pay a heavy price for their actions and would comprehensively be defeated by the armed forces. President Buhari urged nations of the world to end all support provided to Boko Haram and Islam in West Africa terrorist groups whose only goal is to sow death, violence and destruction in the sub-region. In a related development, the Northern Governors Forum has also condemned the alleged gruesome murder of Reverend Lawan Andimi, who was the local council chapter chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria and also a pastor with the Church of the Brethren at the District Church Council of Michika, Adamawa State, by terrorist group. In a statement by the chairman of the Northern Governors Forum and Plateau State Governor Simon Bakola Long, described the act as yet another sad tale of the inhuman activities of the terrorist group, which is bent on unleashing sorrow in the hearts of Nigerians, while commiserating with the family of the late clergyman. The church and people of Adamawa State, Lalong, urged them not to allow the ugly incident affect their faith in God and love for humanity, as the death of the late clergyman cannot be a catalyst for hatred among Nigerians who are disgusted by the cruelty of the terrorist organization. He said the Northern Governors Forum remains united in their support for security agencies to continue to rise up to not only terrorist groups, but all forms of criminality that seek to divide the country along ethnic, religious, or political lines. And talking health, with the outbreak of coronavirus in Asia, the federal government is taking measures towards ensuring that all passengers coming into the country through the nation's airports are quarantined. Federal Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the Federal Airport Authority, has activated all thermal scanners in our airports that monitor temperature of passengers and capture their pictures. A statement by Henrietta Yakubu, General Manager, Corporate Affairs, Federal Airport Authority, advised passengers to submit themselves for routine quarantine checks whenever they are asked to. Recently, a deadly virus known as coronavirus broke out in China and has since killed 6 people, with over 300 also reported to have been infected. The virus is highly communicable and has already spread to border countries like Japan, Thailand and South Korea. In other news, the federal government Change Begins With Me campaign is gaining the support of civil society organizations as they join in the crusade to promote integrity and accountability in public service. Joshua Ojito reports that 5 public servants were honored for selfless service to the nation.
More than 400 public servants with an excellent record of hard work, integrity, and incorruptibility were randomly nominated across the country for the 2019 Icon Award by the Accountability Lab. From this pool of intimidating records, Francis Irabo, a chief superintendent of police and currently divisional police officer in Akwa Ibom State, and 4 others stood out and made their ways to the Hall of Fame. Their penchant for honesty, accountability, and zero tolerance for corruption were their credentials.
Just keep on doing the right thing, earn the people's trust, win their confidence. If you do that, you can stand out.
We have been in the front burner, lecturers asking for sex for grade, marks for grade. So I would advise my colleagues to really change that narrative.
If I'm a young person and I'm looking to go to a foreign land to look for greener pastures, why can't we do it here in Nigeria? But we can only achieve that if you have people of integrity who are doing the right thing and ensuring that citizens get these services they desire.
We are very proud to be able to partner with the Accountability Lab across the world, and particularly here in Nigeria, to hold up these icons, to name and fame them for the great work they're doing.
With the recognition as Integrity Icons of the Year 2019, the likes of CSP Irabo and others are expected to be ambassadors in the public service. In Abuja, Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
As negotiations continue on the introduction of a common currency for the economic of West African states, ECOWAS, experts on NTA's current affairs program Tuesday Live say the concept will open up trade and investment within the region and as well encourage small businesses, but advise government to be cautious. Let's hear from Doindia.
The leaders of the Economic Community of West Africa, ECOWAS, on June 29, 2019, formally adopted the name ECO for the single currency project in 2020. It is believed that the introduction of the ECOWAS currency will enhance a robust and easy business network amongst ECOWAS member states. So, with a thorough analysis of the implication for Nigeria, the guest made a case for the redesigning of a policy template that will ensure stiff compliance to the import and export policies as well as border control.
Win-win, and it is going to be a win-win. Okay. First, this is a unique opportunity for Nigeria on purchase of our oil and gas. That will give us some macroeconomic space.
Now, in the course of negotiations and discussions, Nigeria put on the table solid issues which the ECOWAS countries ignored.
This is why Nigeria has been reluctant to just jump in head first like some of the other countries. Include things like there must be single-digit inflation within all member states.
Irrespective of what the World Bank is saying, we still have serious issues with productivity, we have serious issues with power, with roads, with our ports, with regulation, with policies. Let us constantly engage the stakeholders in this economy so that we can fine-tune this.
On the other leg of the program, guests expressed optimism that the new tax regime currently introduced by the federal government of Nigeria will be a win-win for both the government and business owners, as the provision of critical infrastructure and the enabling environment will aid the growth of business in the country.
We are borrowing. And some people have been condemning the act of borrowing. The act of borrowing is because we're having shortfalls. We must, as a country, empower the people, the bottom of the pyramid, where the resource is concentrated, to be able to generate, to be independent enough to generate resources that will contribute to the center.
In Abuja, Doing Dia, NTA News.
Nigeria has restated commitment towards ensuring peace, improved security and development in the ECOWAS. Nigeria's permanent representative to the ECOWAS Commission, Ambassador Sani Musa Nuhu, said this while presenting letter of credence to the president of the ECOWAS Commission, John Claude Cassie Brown, explaining that Nigeria is worried over the resurgence of terrorist attacks in Burkina Faso and the Niger Republic.
We all know how committed President Buhari is on the issue of regional integration, more especially on the issue of peace and security, which is a challenge in the sub-region. We have seen what is happening now in the Sahel region, specifically in Burkina Faso, Mali, and the Republic of Niger. We are going to play a greater role on collaborating with them to make sure that we are also a key player. In fact, Nigeria has been a key player and will continue to consolidate that to make sure that we become, we engage our neighbors more.
Nigeria also assured to continue pursuing regional integration in the region for economic development of the people. And just before we go, let's have a quick check of our weather perspective for tomorrow. And that's a wrap on Nationwide. Thanks for investing your time with NTA. And do stay tuned for more telecasts on the network service of the NTA. I'm Ruth Aguele. Bye.